What's going on, everyone? We are back to talk about episode number 4 of Lalomanu Beach. I'm joined as always by my co-host McKenna, and Mr. Robbie is back with us again to break down this episode. Robbie, what did you think?
Yeah, well, the honeymoon's over. We said that last episode. Tapu is coming off their first loss, and we roll into this episode having them just voted out Eli. And this is another great episode. And I love the challenge that we see here, the immunity challenge. It's the pacing of it is amazing. But we start off with Brittley and Greg both being a little concerned because in the previous episode, I think it was episode 2, they received some votes, and we get confessionals about them talking about that now that they have time to think about it. Where did those votes come from? Why did we each get a vote? And maybe we need to find a way to wiggle ourselves into actual alliances here and try to find a crack. And it's good to get insight because from Brittley, because we don't hear a lot from Brittley when they win, and they won last episode. So it was good to see what's going on there. But charades, that is the immunity challenge today. Each tribe has to do charades of animals, and it's a relay race pretty much, one at a time. You have to guess the animal. Once you get it, you have to act it out, and so on and so forth until the whole list of animals is acted out, and you win. It's a very, very straightforward challenge. Like, what was the strategy going on in those rooms? Like, did they just say, okay, here's the order we're going to do, and that was pretty much it?
That's all they knew. They had no idea what animal they were they just had to give us the set order, and then once they got the correct animal, we had someone else on production message the next person that was supposed to act it out. So it went really quick. So what you saw on there, that was the pace of it. It was a fast challenge, and it was very competitive because I had no idea how Tapu was doing, and McKenna didn't know where Pasea was at. So we had to call it out as soon as one tribe or the other won immunity.
Yeah, and I timed it. It was just about 2.5 minutes, maybe 2:40 or something like that for the entire challenge. Once they started to win, you were about to yell Pasea wins, and that's a spoiler alert, obviously. But and really, there's no point in beating around the bush here. Pasea wins, and I think the one reason why they win, yes, Tapua had some mic muting issues. That might have been a couple seconds here or there. Anthony had his mic muted when he was trying to guess penguin. Right. And Kyle had his mic muted when he was trying to guess bear. But really what sank Tapua, I think they would have won by at least 45 seconds, is Carlo. There seemed to be about 30 to 40 seconds where Carlo was just sitting there. And unfortunately, I don't think he realized that
it was his turn.
It was his turn. Right. And obviously they agreed on the order beforehand. So when it was his turn to go, he should have known. And Kyle was going, and Kyle was doing a great job with the whole giraffe and the point of my neck.
And then he kept trying to do different things because like the guess wasn't ever coming.
Well, exactly. There was no guesses coming. On top of that, the other tribe, Pasea, actually had giraffe during Kyle's
and
turn.
That happened for jellyfish too. They weren't getting jellyfish. Greg couldn't get jellyfish, and all of a sudden then like Nikki got jellyfish. Serena guessed it correctly, and then Greg was just like that.
And Morgan says jellyfish. I have to give credit to Nikki there. That was a great charade of jellyfish. That was a pretty good one.
Yeah, that was good. And I got a question. How many total animals were there? Because I think somebody went twice.
9. There was 9 total.
There was 9 total. Okay. So if it took 2.5 minutes, so 2 minutes and 30 seconds to do the entire thing, right? And one person took a minute. Carlo's turn took a full minute. I think it was like 55 seconds or so.
Crazy.
For Carlo's turn. That's insane, right? That's what?
The game changer, because
that's 2/5 of the challenge. That's the equivalent of almost doing 4 animals. And I think they were almost tied by the end of it. I think there was maybe one
Kyle
left.
Was on the last one when Lauren said Pasea wins immunity.
Exactly. So that, and it's funny because I didn't hear a lot of people talking in this episode about Carlo's performance directly in the challenge. Maybe because it only took 2.5 minutes, so you didn't really notice.
I don't think they noticed, or
I don't think anyone noticed.
But that was massive. And at one point, McKenna kind of like just reminded people of whose turn it was.
Yeah.
And then Carlo goes, oh, and then starts guessing, and it's like, man. Anyways, everybody makes mistakes. And it's just unfortunate for Carlo that this mistake happened in such a fast challenge, right?
Yeah.
And that's make or break. And Pasilla wins, like we said a minute ago. And once again, Tapua is going back to tribal second in a row. They were up 2, and now they're going to break even here with their second person going to have to get voted out.
We loved that. We were like, okay, great.
Yes.
we're even so far, and let's see what happens with the next vote and challenge and everything like that. But we were like, great, not one tribe isn't gonna run away with this.
Yep, that's what you like in minis, especially. At longer games, it's different because then you get more time to actually talk and communicate with each other. But minis, it is so crucial that you have your numbers going into any type of swap, any type of merge, because it can make or break the game for you.
Yeah, exactly. And we see a little bit of that when it comes to, we get the winners confessionals and their breakout rooms a little bit before we get to the real tribal strategizing. So we see Pasilla celebrating their win, and you kind of hear them hint a little bit to the fact that, I don't know if they were writing them down, but they were listening to the other tribe's animals, because the rules were, right? Yeah, the rules were that each tribe had the same list of animals. They would just be in a different order. That way it wasn't, you couldn't just yell what you heard and be right. You know what I mean? Except for jellyfish and giraffe. But
yeah, this was a big thing that we were talking about in production. Like, how do we do this? Because we also were going to give them 2 separate lists, but we didn't want any controversies of like,
2 different puzzles.
Than monkey.
Yeah, like just in terms of the hardness of the animals. So we thought it was better just they all got the same.
Yeah, I guess the only thing you could have done, I suppose, was put them in different breakout rooms, and then production would have to watch each breakout room and just see who finishes first, I guess.
Or you time it, or that's the other thing, or you could time it. But I think it's
that's gamesmanship though. This is gamesmanship
out there.
Right? This is part of playing these games is, we could have, separated them into their own rooms and kind of sterilized the whole challenge and timed each individual person, but having everybody in a room, you have all the ruckus, you have all the voices, everybody guessing, that's part of the challenge. And I think it was bang on. It's funny how the jellyfish worked out and whatnot. But you see in Pasilla, they talk about how they had their strategy and they knew which ones were left because they had written some of them down to say, I knew only these ones were left. But you see, which is really interesting, Morgan and Jackie both giving confessionals saying, I want to talk strategy. I want to go into a breakout room and say, okay, let's plan for the next challenge. Let's plan in case we merge. Let's plan in case we swap. What are we going to do? Let's break out a little bit. And I think Jackie at one point even said it, but everybody came.
So the way we have our minis set up is like, the people who aren't going to tribal are chilling in a breakout room while everybody else is scrambling. But once they go to tribal, those rooms are free for everyone to use. But no, like Jackie and Morgan were saying, we don't want to be the first person to be like, hey, let's go over here. So
that's something I do for the future. It is an option. That might be something that I might want to change, where you don't have a choice. If they're in tribal council, you can't all be on the same room. You have to go and actually talk. That could be something interesting to put into play in a future season, because it does make a difference if they're just all chilling in one room. But if you force them to have to go and actually talk with people and move around, I think it could make it quite interesting.
That's true.
Yeah, if it's the tribe that just won, I think that makes perfect sense. Like, kind of force them to get in awkward situations, make them go get water. You know what I mean? Make them go get firewood. Make like, okay, you got a task. You got to go to the firewood room or whatever. Like, I don't know, but I think that'd be great. But moving on to Tapua, they have to once again vote somebody out. And you see Dylan kind of starts off and he says, well, we've got 2 weak links and we got to go for one of them, which doesn't bode well for either Carlo, Kyle, or Serena, because it seems like Dylan feels confident in working with Nikki and Anthony. So I'm curious, because we don't actually get to see which weak links he's talking about. He's definitely not talking about Anthony, because he's working very closely with Anthony at this point in the game.
Do you want me to reveal who he was talking about?
It's up to you. I'd rather it be a mystery and we'll see kind of how it works out, but it's your guys' ball.
So I cut it where he was saying we got rid of one of them and we have one left.
Oh, okay. So he's just talking Carlo.
Yes.
at this point. Okay, that was a really good edit, because when you're watching that, you're thinking, okay, he's got two people and he's got to decide who he's going to. So that was, you got me. I even wrote that down. I was like, oh man, and we start to see some, Tapu is starting to cannibalize themselves a little bit, and people are starting to come out of their shell. And you see Kyle, he says right away, I think he's talking to Dylan. I forget exactly. I think he's talking to Dylan. He says, so do you want to go Carlo? And he doesn't say because of challenge performance or anything. It's just, he's throwing a name out there of who he thinks should go home. And this is interesting, because somebody who's playing for the first time, throwing a name out and not playing the, I don't know what to do, who should we vote kind of game, which you see Anthony play a lot, which is really interesting. I highlighted something here about Anthony this episode, and I don't know if any of the players are going to catch on during the season, but this episode, he gave himself away really, really badly when it comes to like a mannerism or a tell. And what I mean by that is, when he's in a room with somebody that he might vote against, he acts, even if somebody in the room is with him that he is working with. So let's say Dylan and Carlo are in a room with him. He acts like, you guys tell me, like, just to give me a name. Who am I going to do? I don't know what's going on. Like, this is crazy. Like very just, I don't know. Doesn't say anything. And then the second Carlo would leave, and if it was like, let's say him, Dylan, and like Anthony, Dylan, and Serena, or Serena, Nikki, and Anthony is what you actually see.
Yep.
Anthony goes, okay, here's what it is. It's Carlo. We're going to do this, blah, 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 blah. Very, very like, I'm trusting you. Here's what's happening. Very straightforward. So if you found yourself in a room with Anthony, with Carlo there and with Carlo gone, you would get a read on Anthony right there, where you say, okay, if I'm ever in a room where Anthony is saying, if it's just me and him and he's just saying, I don't know, give me a name, I'm screwed. Right? Like he's not working with me. Or if I'm in a room and Anthony is saying, here's what we're doing, here's what I'm hearing, yada, 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 he's working with me. Right? And maybe Anthony does that on purpose, and then he kind of like uses his tell against people, because some people do that. But that shocked me, because he has a lot of experience. So it was really interesting to see his mannerism change so dramatically.
I didn't catch on to that. So like,
that's exactly why we have Robbie here for the recap, because you catch literally every single little tidbit that happens in the episode.
Well, this is fun to me, because like I've only played in one mini and one long game. I don't have a lot of experience in these, but I love watching them and kind of analyzing like how people act when they're in different power positions. And when Anthony he has power right now. He has a lot of power, and you see it when he's in a room with Nikki and Serena and he trusts them, and you see how he acts. He's in a room with Dylan, he acts the exact same way. And he's in a room with Carlo or Kyle, and he's completely different. So I'm anxious to see the rest of the season, if that's a tell that carries on, and maybe we'll be able to read what's happening, or what he thinks at least is happening at that point. But yeah, that was a pre-travel. That pretty much sums it up. Everybody else is saying Carlo. Carlo is saying everybody else. And I will mention one last thing about the pre-travel, the scramble round. Carlo goes to Dylan and says, let's vote Anthony. And you have to know that Dylan and Anthony are working together at this point, right?
That was not a good idea.
Because Anthony even says, I know Dylan's doing this, or I know we'll have Dylan to do that. Like Anthony says sentences like that, and people don't say things like that if they're not working together, right? Typically, if he says, I know we've got this person to do this, you don't say, well, let's vote them out then.
So the thing that Carlo was pitching last round was, Eli's going now, Anthony's the buffer.
Okay, fair. Yep.
So at their first tribal council, so I don't think this was before scrambling and stuff like that. So now coming into this one that we just lost, Carlo's like, all right, we talked last tribal, Anthony, right? And Dylan's like, sounds good, pal.
Yeah, and he says it in front of Kyle, and then Kyle and Dylan kind of laugh about it, and they're like, so do we tell Anthony? And at first Dylan's like, no, and he's like, yeah. I changed my mind.
This is also the episode of pulling people for confessionals at perfect moments, because we see it happen about like 3 times this episode. So props to Alex and Carrie for
I think at one time Serena got pulled and they're like, oh, all right.
Yep. And then Anthony gets pulled, and that's when Carlo's like, perfect, all right, so we're voting
everybody. Yeah. Which here's the thing that's kind of funny is Anthony has a lot of power right now, right? Like you
Mhm.
see Anthony and Dylan kind of pulling the strings. It's almost like Anthony and Dylan on one side, and you've got Morgan and Jackie on the other side, where everybody wants to work with them and everybody trusts them, and they have a lot of say and everything like that. Um, Voting Anthony out right now would have been a good move
Yeah.
for a lot of people in that room, you know, in the long term. The problem is in the short term,
Mm,
like, are they swapping? Are they merging? Nobody
exactly.
knows. Um, you
I think
know,
everybody wants to work with Anthony because Kyle's like, I'm feeling really good with Dylan and Anthony. Serena's like, I'm feeling good with Anthony, Nikki, Dylan. Like, I think
And then
Dylan
Nikki in there. Yeah.
yeah, Nikki is like, all right, great. I got my 5 people, and I think Anthony and Dylan are like the top 2 people that everybody in this tribe wants to work with.
yeah, for sure. And you see that when you see all the confessionals here, and everybody's pretty much saying Carlo. Nobody's biting on Anthony, and nobody's biting on anybody else, or even throwing other names out. Everybody's
Yep.
happy. Carlo's going to go, in their opinions, at least in the pre-tribal. And you kind of get that feeling even in the tribal council. Unfortunately, I think Carlo is completely blindsided here because I think he didn't sound like he had
Any inkling at all.
yeah, like I think
Yeah,
he
no clue.
thought that when he gave his pitch and everybody said yes, I think he believed it at that
He
point,
did.
right?
Because
And
they kind of planted those seeds in the last episode too, because
yeah,
they were just like, yeah, Eli now Anthony later. Sure, sure, sure. That sounds good.
yeah, and we get into tribal council, and Kyle once again staying on his brand of group loyalty, moving
Yes.
forward. He says, he trusts his allies. He mentioned how the scramble rooms are getting frustrating because you don't get to talk to everybody you want to. People getting pulled out of confessionals and all that stuff. But he says, moving forward after this vote, same thing he said last time. We're going to be a solid unit moving forward into the merge, a swap, whatever happens. Nikki pretty much says this. Everybody says the same thing. Um, eh, you know, Carlo seems really confident here again, which is heartbreaking to watch. Right? It sucks when someone's going home and they're just completely blindsided and they haven't done anything crazy evil. Like I love watching a blindside when somebody is kind of like a snake on a
Yeah.
season.
Carlos
Yes.
is
Really,
trying to play.
really sneaky. Carlos just a good guy trying to play, having fun, and unfortunately, his tribe is about to put him in the guillotine here, and and that's
Yeah,
that's
I
the end
Well,
think
of
well,
him.
Carlo did want to lynch some people. That came up in the episode as
yeah.
well. I'm like, ooh, yikes.
um but I think Serena said it in her vote out confessional where she was like, you're throwing way too many names out and playing too hard, where I think that's the similar reason why Eli left also, because he was
Yeah.
just like gunning. So I guess in a mini you just gotta sit back and let other people do something bad, because that seems like how they decided to cast their votes.
Yeah, and that's a perfect segue because the vote goes down. Unfortunately for him, Carlo does go home, and he votes for Anthony like he said he would.
Yep.
But I wanted to talk for 2 seconds about the voting confessionals again, because we mentioned this before with Morgan and Jackie. When you get to see some of the confessionals people are giving and the votes that you see, how much power and influence you see just from that voting confessional. And in this episode, we see Anthony and Serena, a dynamic between them where this is Serena's first mini or a game of any kind like this.
Mhm.
And she's learning really quickly because the fact that she says, like you just mentioned, McKenna, Carlo is playing too hard right now. He's scaring people. He's throwing out too many names.
Mhm.
So she's obviously seeing that and learning from that mistake. Same thing that Eli did before, right? Which should be interesting because, when her name inevitably is on the block, because everybody's name is on the block at some point, how is she going to react? Is she going to be like Carlo and Eli and kind of throw names out there, or is she going to be more like Brittley and try to stay a little calm and under the
Yeah.
radar? And you also see Anthony give his confessional where he says, Serena came to me and said that this guy threw my name out there.
Mhm.
And he mentioned Serena by name, which is interesting because did Nikki or Kyle or Dylan come to Anthony and say what happened when Carlo did that? Right. And even if two more of them did, if somebody didn't, and it ever comes down to a 50-50 between, let's say, Nikki and Serena or Nikki and Dylan of who do I keep? Anthony's going to remember the fact that when his name was mentioned, Serena came to him and said, hey, heads up, your name was mentioned. You're safe, but your name is out there.
Yep.
So, let's just make sure we have our ducks in a row here. And, we'll see if that pays dividends later for Serena or if it bites her in the butt from being too in the know. You never know, right? The woulda, couldas once again.
You never know. Like, you can either do things really, really well and it might be a great move at the time, but then further along the road, it can come back and bite you. It just depends on the type of players that you have in the game and the people that you're able to fully trust or not fully trust.
Yep, exactly. But another great episode. Unfortunately for Carlo, like we said, he goes home, but it's great to see so much blood in the water on both tribes. They're balanced out now, 5-5, and everybody's wondering, is it a swap? Is it a merge? Is anything happening? Are we just going to run it down until there's one left?
What we're going to do is make sure we get one Tapua, one Pasea, and there's your final two. Like,
fire making for the win. That's it.
No merge, just full tribe.
That's it. Yeah. No.
Spoiler, sorry, Robbie.
Yeah. Oh, shucks.
Well, that indeed does wrap up episode number 4. It was another great one. Episode number 5 is, I gotta say, pretty damn good too. So I can't say it. I can't say enough. This season, I've hosted and played in a lot of games. This season, I think, has the best gameplay I have seen. So just a little bit of a spoiler ahead. I think it's the best gameplay. Doesn't give anything away, but just my opinion. And so now we're going to go back into episode number 5. We'll be breaking that down next week as well. Be on the lookout though. We'll be talking with Carlo to get his thoughts on the game and what his ultimate downfall was. So we're here with Carlo to talk about his exit from the game. Denny is back with us for the exit interview and my co-host McKenna. How are you doing, Carlo?
I'm doing better now. Things are a little bit better than what it was in the game, but I am fine. Thank you. Starting to be pretty hot in Vermont.
Yeah, there you go. I think it's heating up everywhere now. We're getting into April.
Yes. AC unit has to come out very fast.
Awesome. So we saw you win the first 2 challenges. Awesome. Yes. You had a little bit of struggle with the cup pong, but you were in the last position to go, and you wound up hitting it for them to win because they also had other people struggling, but you pulled it out for your team. Congratulations on that. And then we roll right into that next challenge of Eli choosing to be the caller, where you guys wind up losing that challenge. How do you feel on that decision to have Eli going into it? Where obviously you realize after the fact that Eli might not have been the best caller, but were you confident going into that challenge?
Yeah, about the first 2 challenge, it went extremely well and stuff, and I think we use a lot of nice strategy in order to, we were really in sync, and we strategized very effectively in order to win those 2 challenge. The first one was basically a slam dunk. We were aiming at snatching the first few things and hoping to get one later, which worked. On the second challenge, I obviously sucked a lot as dexterity is not my thing, but we reorganized the group order with me going last, putting less pressure on everybody else and less pressure in the end on me trying to not slow down everybody. So it went perfectly fine. And on the last 2, when we reorganized, I think those 2 combined took far less time for me to hit the mark compared to all my previous attempts. So we see that reorganizing went really well. On the card challenge, which I believe was the best one and not the 4th one that was addressed when I got voted out, I think it was a really neat one. I don't know, like people, Anthony and Serena wanted to vote to stay out. That's fine by me. Like, it's their choice, and I have no strong opinion there. The only thing I regret is not me being able to chime in once I realized that, oh shit, this is something I am really good at. And of course, it's easy to say since I was the third one to go, but it could have been, I should have been the caller, or I was not sure if we should intervene and say, hey, stop, do that. I kind of regret it, even if I was blindfolded, because after maybe like 1/3 of the Eli Dylan interaction, I knew exactly what had to be done, and I just didn't say anything until it reaches my end. So it is what it is. But that episode MVP obviously has to go for Lauren, as she is she's hard to beat on that one, and that
Yeah.
was both of hers. Like I know it's not ill, no meanness or stuff, but for the game purposes, yes, she does deserve her Emmy or something.
Yeah, so like you were a part of the Keaton Tribal Council and now the Eli Dillon Tribal Council, and I'm pretty sure that the Eli Dillon was a little bit worse than the Keaton one.
Yes, correct. And in a way that okay, it's we have to laugh a little bit about ourselves, and we made history in a way. So that is something that we hope will. I hope will never be beaten for a while, or would it? I don't know, but at least we're gonna say after a few seasons along the way. But
we'll see.
Yeah,
it might be beaten. It depends on what the challenge is. But
well, but we cannot suck that much, did we? Yes.
oh, it was bad. It was painful to watch. And I will say, as you mentioned earlier, that you wish you would have chimed in about what was wrong and being able to correct what their mistake was, because they weren't actually doing it from ace to king. We did hear in the episode Kyle chimed in, but it wasn't until much later. So I do think if you would have said something, it would have made somewhat of a difference, because once they got to you were going through it very quickly and getting your cards in place, but it was just too little too late because Jackie had already been on the puzzle for so long.
There was too much of a time gap spent and stuff. So maybe it's my mistake that I should have not reached out earlier, and maybe considering all of this, I should have been the caller. But again, it's hard to 9 cats. Sometimes they want to be featured as well. It would have. I think it would have. It doesn't mean that we would have won, but it would have made a difference. May have made a difference in being more effective. And as we see, we sat on 2 relatively crushing victories where we did very, very well. And this is what happened when we don't strategize or strategize very badly and have like being completely disorganized. We get under Lauren's wrath. That was nice.
I'm surprised that you didn't say anything, because I view you as a very vocal person. So the fact that you were thinking of saying something but didn't surprises me.
Yes, that is entirely my mistake. I will get vocal once I'm more comfortable with my surroundings and stuff. And there, I wasn't sure if we could do it or not, and we didn't know like how things were going. Maybe we didn't know if we could have switched about the during the challenge, like Eli being blindfold and switching be the caller and stuff. And but at any rate, we tried something. It didn't work out, and I don't think it's well, it is our fault, but like we should have planned better. But
one question I do have to see if your opinion on it. Greg, I believe in this episode had a confessional saying like his group was kind of forced to work more closely together because they lost those first 2 and didn't have people sitting out of challenges, and people weren't like separated from the group at all. Do you think that winning the first 2 and not having to put like loyalties to the test and then people sitting out of challenges affected like the unity or harmony or whatever?
Definitely, yes. I think Greg had a good comment there. Like it forces them, because I'm taking that eventually they form their own thing where this is Anna Rose, they form their own thing when they don't want to vote off and lose too much number, according to maybe a possible merge or swap or whatever happens going onward. So I think it's a nice slap in the face and a wake up call to get like to work better together. Where on our end, maybe we stay too cozy with ourselves, doing, hey, we have this, we're gonna wipe them off, and that's easy and kumbaya. That's very nice. That's also what reflected when they had to go to tribal and scramble in their time. We stayed. We did not scramble at all. We stayed as a group with the same scrambled room, just getting to know each other and having fun. And we started to, okay, let's get down to business. After we got obliterated with that challenge, maybe we slack it too much, and it resulted in what it did.
Yep.
So I want to know, I heard that you were like a very last minute addition to the cast. Is that true?
That is, like, I really enjoyed the first time around, and the first time Lauren and Cameron then recruited me. That was a first. That basically all started when I asked Lauren, "Hey, what is this org about? What does that mean and stuff?" And eventually, the previous network Chaos Online were created, and I was asked to join. So I did enjoy my time there. I had a chance to play a full season as well. And I say, oh, hey, if you have any last minute thing, then just up in. Like, I know that since with the pristine quality of the work, I'm sure that lots of people will want to try out, whether it's Survivor Mini or whatever you guys have up in store for moving onward. And I asked to be like, if you have something, yes, I'll be ready at the last minute. And I actually was like, Lauren sent me the few things that I needed to get ready. And I was actually at 11, that was a no. And at 11:10, that was a yes. So I was happy regardless.
Yep.
We had our full cast in the waiting room, let everyone in, and then one person had technical issues or whatever and couldn't join in, and then all of a sudden, Carlo, we need you.
Yep.
Yeah, I was very happy at that. And like a side story, that same person managed to reach out to me because we connected for some chatting and stuff, and we were hoping to end together in order to be able, like, I told her that I was an alternate. She told me that she was actually going to play, and I did not expect to be replacing her. Like, I hope that things got fine. But I think the cast this time was more diverse. And
we tried our best with it.
Yeah, we tried our best.
Yes, still very friendly, very nice. No bad things to say. Like, we are keeping in touch a little bit here and there on social media, and that's a win for me. Like, the cast was more diverse. The production learned from was even better. Like, they were already good and learned about a few technicalities, like having our names in the color of our tribes and stuff during the stuff. Like, there's tiny stuff and breakout rooms being renamed appropriately, things like we see the technical details of the evolution, and I can't wait to see how it will shape moving onward as a viewer, or maybe a player in who knows, in a few years or something.
So talking about like staying connected with your people and stuff, Anthony put a comment when we asked for questions for you, Carlo. Carlo, why did you come after me? So what was your thoughts on getting rid of Anthony?
It all puts back into perspective. First 2 wins, we took it slow, lazy or not and stuff, and we relaxed. Third challenge, major wake-up call, major grill and stuff, and now it was time to go to work. So I say, okay, I reached out to a few peoples, having in mind that we don't know when you guys say, okay, stop, it's tribal. So we had to go quickly, and Anthony just managed to be someone that I did not reach out. We didn't had the chance to reach out to each other. So for me, it was really nothing personal.
Mhm.
It's just someone that with the people I reached out to, I said, okay, let's do this, that we're going to be 5-4 or we're going to be 5-2 or 4-3. We're going to
Yep.
have some numbers. Let's moving outward. And Anthony, I just managed to didn't reach out to him as well.
Yeah, it's
I'm
hard
not-
to get into certain breakout rooms with certain
Mhm.
people because you don't want to be that person to be like, hey, Carlo, can you come with me to like this breakout room? And maybe you, like maybe Denny, you come with me too. Like, let's just leave Lauren
In the
over
end-
here. Like, you can't really do that. So
Yes, in the end, our ends were tied, and I had more in mind the short time frame as
Mhm.
we have to, like Julie Chan says, expect the unexpected, and we don't know when you guys say that's enough.
Yep.
So it just went that way. And on a side note, I personally didn't knew who Anthony was and
Right.
is established, I say, good reputation, whatever. Like I
Mhm.
managed to find out afterwards, looking at the other group and stuff, who he was and how well he is as a good player. Like knowing this prior to the game, then yes, okay, I would have reached out to him for obvious reason.
Right.
But afterwards, like it was really nothing personal. The only two person that I knew a little bit was Bob, because who doesn't know Bob? Great character. And Eli a little bit. So Eli and I ended up in the same group, and I was actually trying to work with Eli. But once I find out that it was me or Eli, then I tried to do my best to survive there.
So
The last episode, we heard you throw out a lot of names. So whoever basically wasn't in the room, you were throwing their name out. So you threw Serena, Nikki, Kyle, Anthony, Dylan. So who did you actually want to work with in this game?
Originally, it was supposed to be Nikki, Serena, me, and possibly Cal as a fifth or not. Like it was really last minute scrambling, trying to organize things, and the having Anthony on the out with maybe possibly Cal, like that wasn't set in stone. I was hoping to have something with Serena, Nikki, and Dylan in the first place.
So my other part to that question, Carlo, is have you ever thought of just sitting back a little bit, kind of like what I said to Shawn last week, not being such a vocal person, not being the one to throw the names out, and kind of letting someone else take the lead on that?
I realized afterwards that I may have been too much in the face of everyone at the last minute thing, and that kind of hurt my game. That is a thing. But yes, that would have been something that I should have been a little bit more. I should have did a little bit more. Like in the first season, that kind of went that way, and it kind of went rather well, except for whatever happened. In the full season that I played, I was more like you saw me in episode 4, trying to assess things. I got to new people, I got to organize stuff, but with a season, we have like all the time in the world, so there is no excuse. We're here since the full season. I ended up 5th in the season, did very, very well. And I knew that what I did worked there. So I tried to recreate this there. And obviously, with the too much last minute scrambling, may have ruffle feathers or like felt that I was pushing things too hard. And that ended up biting me in the ass.
Well, minis are tough because they do go so fast, and you never know when someone's gonna pop into a room. So
correct. I like that. Like I have a huge board gaming background, so playing a game for 12 hours or playing a mini for 12 hours on the social thing is something that I'm happy to. Like it's just didn't turn out that way. Obviously the rules are different, and I kind of pushed too hard, then I realized it too late, and here I am talking to you. I would rather talking to you. I would rather much talking to you like in like 8 more episodes or something.
Oh, all right.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, we
But so
loved
does
having you.
everybody, so.
We loved having you on the season, and thank you for being our alternate and joining super
Yes.
last minute. We really appreciate it.
I'm not done yet. I want to know. Well, first I want to say that you are like the people's champ. We actually have a few friends who say they want to see you on every season.
We do have those.
Yeah.
people.
One of
So
our
you should feel good about
production
that.
members, Ian, he was like Carlo every season.
He's Team Carlo.
Team
Okay,
Carlo all the way.
I kind of feel flattered by it. Listening at the episode, I still think that my voice sucked, even though I have a mic now. Like maybe I'm on a full computer and not a laptop, so everything is not in the same thing, and I still think that my voice sucked. Or if I have to be a last minute addition in all the season, maybe I will invest in a better mic now.
No, this has
I
been
want-
You
no,
sound
this is
so
good.
much better now.
Yeah, this one sounds great.
Your
yeah,
last,
it sounds great. But when I'm hearing myself during the episodes and stuff, I still feel that I suck, and not because of anything, like the way the things are recorded compared to the things that where I'm listening to. Like it feels different. But
Yeah,
thanks for the support.
it
Like
changed
it's
with your last exit. Your last exit interview was crisp and clear, and then and that was after you had filmed this mini already. So I don't know what happened between like the mini and your last exit interview, but
yeah, the old thing is, once I realized that people were more into laptop, I had a webcam for work purposes, and I also have a mic, and I thought the webcam was good enough for the visual and the vocal, which obviously we know now that it wasn't good enough for the vocal. So I just took another mic, the mic that I have, and if you guys
there we
say
go.
fine, then I'm happy to hear that it is fine. But thanks.
Yeah, it's great.
The thing
I have one more thing. Describe your word. I mean, describe your game in one word.
Wow, that's a good question. Late.
Late.
There you go.
Late. As there is things I should have reacted earlier and on the now. No, but seriously, I think Lauren's comments is equal to Sue Snake and Rat speech on season 1. That is how I view it. So far, it's really in the Survivor highlights. So late also on that challenge that I should have been more to react earlier in order to set things right.
Well, can't wait to see you back again, Carlo.
Thanks for your time. It's been a blast, and I hope to see everybody's around as usual.
All right, Lauren, take us home.
Yeah, well, thanks again, Carlo, for joining us. Everyone stay tuned. Be on the lookout for episode number 5. You're very much so in for a treat with this episode. It is epic, so stay tuned. See you guys later. Bye.